Say Uncle is a really great episode of Everybody Loves Raymond with some quotes from Frank that I absolutely love. This is the 22nd episode of the 5th season of Everybody Loves Raymond. It's directed by Kenneth Shapiro, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Robert playing with the kids. It's a great happy scene. Who could possibly complain? Well, Ray does. Robert leaves momentarily to get some juice from across the road, and he sees that his kids are eating like Robert. And he's also just learned that Robert's taking the kids to the zoo for the day. And Ray feels hurt by this. He's clearly jealous. He tries to get the kids to eat like him. And when Robert comes over, Ray says, "I'll take the kids to the zoo." And it gets quite heated. He and Robert get into a bit of an argument, but Ray took it too far and told Robert he needs to get a life of his own. And Robert left. And in that moment, it was very clear that, yes, Robert was hurt, but the real victims, well, technically Robert as well, but also the children. The children were looking forward to going to the zoo with their Uncle Robert, and because he couldn't control his jealousy, Ray has ruined it for them. So, not a good look for Ray. Marie then comes over, and not for the first time Marie does this, but she'll often just walk into the house and say something just all of a sudden. And she does this, and she just walks in and says, "Who told Robert to get a life?" Great introduction to Marie here. Absolutely loved it. And Debra and Marie, unusually, not unheard of, but unusually, they were in agreement. Debra completely agreed with Marie that Ray crossed a line. Then Marie said that if it wasn't for Robert, the kids would be in front of the TV all day. Debra was a little bit hurt by this. And then Frank comes over, and this is my favourite part in the whole episode because Frank is just absolutely fantastic. And he said to Marie she was making pancakes and then she was gone, and I quote, "which would be great if there were pancakes," which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And Marie told him to make his own pancakes, and Frank replied, "You better hope I can't, otherwise you're on a bus to the home." Which is harsh, but I love it. The bickering between the two of them is part of their love language, and I absolutely love it. I apologise if you heard a strange meow in the background there. My cat was asleep in my arms and she decided to wake up and announce that she'd woken up with a little whiny meow. She's off doing her own thing now, and I've lost my train of thought. Yes, Frank and Marie, absolutely loved. I love Frank in general, but in this episode, he definitely, for me, provided the bulk of the comedy. And Ray then goes over to apologise to Robert. He's been out to the zoo with the kids, and the kids weren't really that interested in the zoo. And Ray goes to apologise to Robert. Much to his credit, he had time to think about what he said. He realised it wasn't acceptable. Is he doing this fully off of his own back? He did say that he saw some, I think he said monkeys at the zoo, and reminded him of him and Robert. But I also feel like partly it's probably with pressure from Marie and Debra as well. But Robert got a life. He's in a hot tub with two female neighbours. He's having a great time. And I think that was a really good decision. Yes, the conversation would have been quite interesting if Ray had just found Robert, say, in his apartment watching television or something. But it just made it a little bit awkward for Ray, standing there trying to have this, I guess, heart-to-heart and apology, and Robert's in a hot tub with two girls. And I just think Ray's discomfort, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, not really knowing where to look or what to do with himself, just made it a little bit funnier. And it was a really sweet way to conclude the narrative. We end with Ray and the kids, and it's quite good fun. And it's an enjoyable episode. I think there are some good lessons here about not being jealous. Yes, there will be some occasions when a family member will overstep the mark. But it's not like Robert's there 24/7 trying to take the kids out all of the time. He's there occasionally. Well, he's maybe there quite a lot, but in terms of being with the kids, he's there occasionally. And I do think Ray was out of line. So it's not that somebody in Robert's position couldn't overstep the mark, but I don't think it was ever the case that Robert was doing that. And I think there are some good messages here, I guess on both sides. If you're the Ray of the scenario, don't be bitter and tell your brother to get a life when they're just there to help out and spend time with their niece and nephews whom they love. But at the same time, if you are the Robert of the story, make sure you're not overstepping the mark. As I said, I don't think for a second that Robert is doing that. And if you're the Marie of the story, you better hope your husband can't make his own pancakes. Again, not for 1 second do I think Frank would tell Marie to go to a home if he could make his own pancakes. But it was fun. I think Frank definitely provided the most comedy. I really enjoyed seeing Marie and Debra siding with their argument against Ray. So in general, I thought it's a really, really solid episode. No complaints from me. Say Uncle. It's a pretty great episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.